Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into cybersecurity.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, and we've got some fascinating insights to guide us from Enrique Cubeiro.
Right.
He's a former Spanish Navy captain,
Wow.
and now he's the cybersecurity director at Genova.
Genova.
Yeah, they're really involved in all those critical infrastructure sectors, you know?
Yeah, right. Energy, transportation, all that.
Exactly. And get this, Cubeiro compares naval dominance to what's going on in cyberspace today.
Interesting. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, it's a brilliant analogy, actually. So he argues that, back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
controlling the seas basically meant controlling global trade and power.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But today, well, that kind of dominance is shifting to cyberspace, according to Cubeiro.
Makes sense. Everything's online now.
Absolutely. But here's where things get a little, well, unsettling. Cubeiro points out this huge difference between traditional warfare and cyber warfare.
Okay, I'm listening.
It's the lack of deterrence.
I see. Go on.
Like historically, if you committed an act of aggression on the high seas,
Yeah.
there were serious consequences.
You bet.
But in cyberspace, attackers can often operate with total anonymity
Right.
and impunity,
Mm.
which is unheard of in traditional conflict.
It's like the Wild West out there. No rules.
It kind of is, yeah. But there's another layer to all of this that I found really eye-opening. Cubeiro talks about this, how do you say it, democratization of cybercrime.
Democratization of cybercrime.
Yeah, and AI is a huge part of this.
Okay, that's interesting. How so?
So AI tools like Deep Exploit and Passcan,
Okay.
they're making sophisticated hacking techniques available to practically anyone these days.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, imagine a Netflix subscription, but for hacking tools.
That's a bit unnerving.
Yeah, no kidding. Makes you think twice about your passwords, right?
Definitely.
But seriously, it's a complete game changer. We're not just talking about, a few elite hackers anymore.
Right.
The potential threat pool has just exploded.
So anyone can be a hacker now.
Pretty much, yeah. And what's even more concerning, some of these AI tools can actually design hacking strategies.
Wow.
So even someone with very little experience can launch attacks.
That's scary.
Yeah. And to make matters worse, Cubeiro is really frustrated with the lack of international cooperation,
Yeah.
and a unified cybersecurity strategy, especially in Europe.
Yeah, he's right to be concerned. It's like every country is fighting its own little cyber battles,
Right.
Makes it tough to counter these threats when they're constantly evolving.
Yeah, exactly. And he also brought up Europe's heavy reliance on foreign technology. That adds another layer of complexity, for sure.
Absolutely. It's a tricky situation.
So are we just doomed then? Is there any hope?
Well, I wouldn't say doomed.
Okay.
Cubeiro doesn't seem to be advocating for total isolationism or anything.
Okay.
He definitely believes in information sharing and collaboration, that's for sure.
Okay, so he's not all doom and gloom.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
He actually sees those things as essential. Countries and organizations got to break down those silos and work together.
Yeah.
If we want to develop a really strong and unified defense, and it's not just about sharing threat data,
So what else does he suggest?
sharing best practices, for one,
Okay.
coordinating response efforts,
Mm-hmm.
and even pooling resources
Mm-hmm.
to develop those new security technologies.
I like that.
It's like, imagine a global cybersecurity task force
Mm.
all working together to protect us from those rising cyber threats.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think it ties into his next point perfectly. Cybersecurity is no longer just an IT issue.
Right.
He sees it as a critical business issue that impacts every single sector.
Every sector, huh?
Yeah, and he's got this great story about a company that was super hesitant to invest in cybersecurity
Oh, really?
for hangar door.
A hangar door?
Yeah, I know, right?
What happened?
Well, it really highlights a common misconception. Many companies still see cybersecurity as solely an IT problem.
Yeah, I could see that.
But Cubeiro argues that this narrow perspective is incredibly dangerous in today's interconnected world.
Of course, yeah.
Because think about it. Even something as insignificant as a hangar door,
Right.
if it's connected to a larger network,
Uh-huh.
it can become a point of vulnerability for hackers
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you mean.
and the potential consequences, especially for companies operating in those critical infrastructure sectors.
Could be catastrophic.
Exactly.
Makes you think.
It does, doesn't it? So it's not just about protecting your computers and servers anymore.
Nope. It's about everything.
Right. But I'm curious, does Cubeiro offer any solutions to this? How do we bridge this gap, between perception and reality?
Well, he sees regulations like the NIS2 directive as a step in the right direction,
Oh, interesting.
especially those targeting critical sectors like energy and maritime.
Okay.
These regulations are actually forcing companies to take cybersecurity more seriously.
It's almost like they're being forced to play catch up, aren't they?
Yeah, in a way, yes.
But what about securing the supply chain? That seems really complex.
It is. But Cubeiro uses a great example, a warship,
Okay.
which involves a ton of vendors with varying levels of cybersecurity maturity.
Right, right. Makes sense.
So he's absolutely right to highlight that.
Yeah.
If a warship, with all its sophisticated technology, is vulnerable through its supply chain,
Yeah.
what does that say about other industries?
That's a great point.
Companies need to start thinking about cybersecurity more holistically,
Mm-hmm.
extending their defenses beyond their own walls
Yeah.
into their entire ecosystem.
Interesting. So like their partners and suppliers and all that.
Exactly. It's all connected.
Okay. So let's dive deeper into that.
Okay.
What specific steps can companies take to actually secure their supply chains?
Well, Cubeiro suggests rigorous vendor risk assessments, for starters.
Okay.
It's all about understanding the cybersecurity posture of every single vendor.
Right. So it's like a chain is only as strong as its weakest link.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And more companies are adopting a zero trust architecture.
Zero trust.
Yeah. It's a model where you don't automatically trust anyone,
Oh, wow.
even those within your own network.
Interesting.
You're constantly verifying and authenticating access to your systems and data.
Wow. That's fascinating. It sounds like a major shift in how we think about security.
It is. It's a big change.
But let's be realistic for a second. Implementing these strategies, especially on a large scale, it requires a lot of expertise, doesn't it?
It does. And that brings us to another major challenge that Cubeiro highlights,
Okay, which is?
the talent war.
Ah, yes.
There's fierce competition for cybersecurity professionals these days.
No kidding.
Companies are offering sky-high salaries.
I bet.
They demand a ton of certifications, and they're still struggling to find and retain qualified people.
It's like a digital arms race.
It really is.
Yeah.
But why is it so hard to find and keep these cybersecurity people, you ask?
Yeah, why is that?
Well, Cubeiro suggests it's partly because cybersecurity is constantly evolving. These professionals are driven by a thirst for knowledge, a desire to stay ahead of the curve. They're constantly learning, adapting, pushing the boundaries.
So it's not just about the money.
No, not at all. There's a certain passion and dedication that drives these individuals. They see cybersecurity as more than just a job. It's a calling, a vocation.
Wow. This is giving me a whole new appreciation for the people working behind the scenes to keep our digital world safe.
It's easy to take it for granted, isn't it?
It is.
But their work is absolutely essential.
So true. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here. From the changing landscape of cyber warfare and the democratization of cybercrime to the critical need for international cooperation and securing the supply chain. But Cubeiro leaves us with this really powerful statement.
Okay, what's that?
Cybersecurity is no longer a differentiator. It's a matter of survival.
Wow. That's a powerful way to put it. He's essentially saying that in this digital age, cybersecurity isn't just a nice to have, it's essential.
Exactly.
Without it, you're putting yourself at risk.
Absolutely. And with the democratization of hacking tools, that risk is growing exponentially.
Right. It's a whole new ballgame out there.
It's a stark reality check, that's for sure. But it begs the question, what does this all mean for us?
Right.
If cybersecurity is truly a matter of survival, what can we actually do about it?
Well, that's where Cubeiro's insights become really practical.
Okay.
He urges us to shift our mindset.
Okay.
We need to stop thinking of cybersecurity as an optional add-on and start treating it as a fundamental aspect of everything we do.
So it's not just about installing antivirus software and hoping for the best?
No, not even close.
Yeah.
It needs to be embedded in the very DNA of an organization.
Okay, so what?
From how we design products, how we manage our data, how we interact with our partners, even how we train our employees.
Speaking of employees, they often seem to be the weakest link in the cybersecurity chain, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And Cubeiro really stresses the importance of security awareness training.
Yeah.
It's not enough to have the best technology if your employees are clicking on phishing links or using weak passwords.
Yeah, you're right.
Everyone needs to understand their role in protecting the organization's digital assets.
It's almost like we need a cultural shift,
Yeah.
Where cybersecurity becomes second nature.
I think so, yeah.
Something we all think about proactively.
Exactly. And it's not just about large organizations either.
Right.
Individuals have a huge role to play in this too. We need to be more aware of the risks we face online, more vigilant in protecting our personal information.
Makes sense.
And more proactive in educating ourselves about basic cybersecurity hygiene.
So where do we even begin? It all sounds so overwhelming.
Well, the first step, as Cubeiro emphasizes, is recognizing that cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility.
Yeah, it's not just an IT issue.
Exactly. It's a shared responsibility across all levels of an organization and within society as a whole.
So we all need to step up and take ownership of our digital security.
Exactly. And that starts with education and awareness. We need to make sure that people understand the risks, know how to protect themselves, and feel empowered to report suspicious activity.
So, like, if you see something, say something.
Precisely. It's like that old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right?
Right.
Investing in cybersecurity upfront is far less costly than dealing with the fallout of an attack.
I imagine so. The costs of a cyber attack could be, staggering.
Yeah, both in terms of financial losses and reputational damage. And as Cubeiro points out, the threat landscape is only getting more complex and more dangerous with the rise of AI-powered hacking tools.
It's not a matter of if, but when, huh?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the reality we face. But the good news is there are steps we can take to mitigate those risks.
Okay, go.
We can strengthen our defenses, educate ourselves and our employees, and work together to create a more secure digital environment.
It sounds like a call to action.
It is. We all have a role to play in securing the digital world. This isn't just about technology. It's about people, collaboration, and a shared commitment to creating a safer and more resilient digital future.
I'm feeling inspired. It's like Cubeiro's interview has given us this roadmap for navigating this whole complex cybersecurity landscape.
It has, hasn't it? And remember that powerful line he used, cybersecurity is no longer a differentiator, but a matter of survival.
Yeah, that's the key takeaway. In this digital age, we can't afford to be complacent.
Yep. We need to be proactive, vigilant, and constantly evolving our defenses to stay ahead of the curve. It's an ongoing process, a journey, not a destination.
So with that in mind, what's the most important thing our listeners should take away from this deep dive? What's that one thought-provoking question they should be asking themselves?
Well, I think Cubeiro's point about the democratization of cybercrime is especially relevant here. Remember how we talked about those AI tools?
Yeah.
Like Deep Exploit and Passcam?
Yeah, right. Becoming so widely available.
Yeah. Practically anyone can access sophisticated hacking techniques now with like a simple subscription.
It's pretty crazy when you think about it.
So here's the question for you and for everyone listening. Think about the technology you use every single day, maybe something you consider harmless, even mundane. Could that seemingly insignificant piece of tech, could that be a weak point? Something that could be exploited using these readily available AI hacking tools?
That is a powerful question. It really makes you stop and think. We often focus on those obvious targets, but what about the vulnerabilities in the most unexpected places?
Right, exactly. It's a good reminder that even the smallest crack can become a gateway for attackers in this interconnected world we live in.
It really reinforces Cubeiro's message that cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility.
It does, doesn't it?
We can't afford to be passive bystanders in this digital arms race.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
We need to be proactive, informed, and engaged in protecting our digital lives. It's almost like learning a new language.
Oh, interesting.
A language of cybersecurity.
And just like learning any new language, it takes time and effort and practice.
Yeah, but the payoff is huge.
Right.
We become more aware, more resilient, and ultimately more secure in this increasingly digital world.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It really is an investment worth making. And it's not about becoming a cybersecurity expert overnight.
No, of course not.
It's about taking small, consistent steps to strengthen our defenses and stay ahead of the curve.
Exactly. Small steps lead to big changes.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into the world of cybersecurity.
We have.
We've explored the evolving threat landscape, the importance of international cooperation, the role of regulations, and that crucial challenge of talent acquisition.
And we've talked about those practical steps that individuals and organizations can take to protect themselves in this, increasingly complex digital environment.
I hope this deep dive has given you a better understanding of the challenges and the opportunities that exist in this rapidly evolving field.
Me too. It's a fascinating and important topic.
And remember, cybersecurity isn't just about technology. It's about people, awareness, and a shared commitment to creating a safer, more secure digital future for everyone.
Well said.
Keep learning, keep questioning, and stay vigilant out there.